All right, greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. How y'all doing? Sorry for the surprise stream at this very moment. Something came up, and I wasn't able to do. I'm not able to do a 12 o'clock stream, and I'm not able to do Substack, but I can do my usual platforms. And sorry, we're just going to do a different time. So whoever comes in here today is who comes in here. And thanks for tuning in. And thanks for being here. We're live on X, YouTube, Rockfin, Rumble. So let's get ready to rumble, as they say. I may have missed thanking Carrie Nanstead last month and DB Cooper for some tips on Rockfin. Thanks, y'all. Appreciate you. If I missed you last time, I apologize. All right. A few things to cover today. And, of course, there's lots more all the time. I'm kind of just waiting for people to get in here. But it might be slow going. If you're on X, give me a shout or give me a like. I don't know. Hey, a like and a re-X, a 2X. Repost just sounds so uber normal. All right, let's look at this story from Japan. They've been saying that. All right, Art made it into the chat. How you doing? Yeah, it might be kind of low attendance today, just because nobody knew I was going to do this time. So, and I'm on computer speakers, and I know how much people hate listening to me on computer. It's absolutely unlistenable on computer speakers. I don't think so. It's fine. I'm trying to drink all the coffee today, so that's happening too. Japan is threatening to sell U.S. treasuries over the tariffs, although they already did something like this. They already had sold off some U.S. treasuries, and that was one of the things that pulled Trump back from the massive tariffs that he, when was it, a month ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago? But this is a recent article from Financial Times, and I know I'm not really going to be able to read it. Although they're I see the whole article. I just am wondering when they're going to decide to cut me off. Let's look at this for a moment. Japan says U.S. Treasury holdings could be a card in trade talks. Finance Minister Katsunobu Kato hints that countries more than $1 trillion in treasuries gives it leverage in negotiations. Speaking during a television interview on Friday, Katsunobu Kato was asked whether Japan would use its traditional stance as a non-seller of treasuries as a tool in trade talks with Washington. It does exist as a card. Whether or not we use that card is a different decision. Traders said that even the reference to such an action as a card could add to volatility in the U.S. bond market that has lurched violently since April 2nd, when Donald Trump announced sweeping reciprocal tariffs on U.S. trade partners. Treasuries were swept up in a wholesale sell-off of American assets before recovering part of their losses after Trump paused the tariffs for 90 days. Japan's status as the biggest foreign holder in the treasury market could become even stronger as a negotiating tool if China decides to weaponize its own treasury holdings in its trade confrontation with the U.S. Talks are now expected to intensify in May, with Akazawa indicating that a trade deal may be possible in June. Anyways, there's more economic threats looming, and I'm seeing a lot of videos of people saying that there's no traffic to the ports, at least on the West Coast. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Malcolm. I had to change up the time. Just the schedule went haywire today, so I apologize. Just trying to do what I can do, make it do what it do, however you want to say it. Anyways, Ben Norton saying a big sell-off of treasuries could cause a U.S. bond market crisis. Give me a second. Trump's tariffs loom over the economy as shipments from China fall. So I'm seeing a lot of people warning about the lack or the loss of shipping and what that could do to the economy and or the supply of certain items. We'll see. Like I said, I'm not seeing things in an obvious way in my own excursions around the world. I'm not seeing anybody, not having any goods or services. I haven't seen any impacts, yet. As far as price impacts, nominal price impacts, I haven't really seen too much. Gas has gone up a little bit. I don't know. You tell me. You tell me what you see. If anybody's seeing some tariff fallout Is anybody, again, the only thing that I'm seeing is that, people um, that I personally know that are running businesses that rely on trade with China have had to maneuver to different suppliers, but that's about all I've seen. Which it isn't a great thing. It is impacting, I'm sure it's impacting people's business decisions. All right, this is from 2 days ago. American businesses are canceling orders from China, postponing expansion plans, and hunkering down to see what trade policy surprises President Donald Trump plans to spring on them next. The president's massive and unpredictable taxes on imports seem likely to mean emptier shelves and higher prices for American shoppers, perhaps within weeks. And the higher cost and paralyzing uncertainty could exact an economic toll. U.S. consumers are in the biggest funk since COVID-19 hit 5 years ago, and economists say recession risks are climbing. I feel like we've been in a recession. I think it's already been a recession for several years. They're just not willing to say the word. So, is it going to get worse? I don't know. Stock market seems to tank, and then it goes right back up again. And as far as inflation and the general availability of goods, I don't see really a huge difference. Again, if anybody's seeing anything else, let me know. Also, this stream is going to be a little bit shorter because I'm going to have to leave probably in about 20 or 30 minutes. An early sign of the damage emerged on Wednesday when the Commerce Department released its first look at first quarter economic growth. The U.S. economy shrank 0.3% from January through March, the first drop in 3 years. Gross domestic product, the nation's output of goods and services, was down from 2.4% in the last 3 months of 2024. Imports shaved 5 percentage points off first quarter growth. Consumer spending also slowed sharply. Separately, a report from payroll provider ADP showed that companies added just 62,000 jobs in April, about half of what was expected, and down from 147,000 in March. It's a potential signal that businesses may be taking a more cautious approach to hiring amid uncertainty over tariffs. One thing that I'd like to point out is that a lot of these economic numbers are fudged, and this is a fact, that they make gross overestimations or underestimations of how well or bad the economy is doing, and then 2 months later they give a revision which nobody covers, and they've been doing this for a really long time. So it's interesting. Are they reporting real numbers this time, or is it worse than they're reporting? I don't know. It's hard to know. As he promised on the campaign trail, Trump has upended decades of American trade policy he's been imposing and sometimes suspending big import taxes or tariffs on a wide range of targets. He's currently plastered a 10% levy on products from almost every country in the world. He's hit China, America's third biggest trading partner and second biggest source of imported goods, with a staggering 145% tariff. China responded with a retaliatory tariff, 125% on American products. The take no prisoners trade war between the world's two biggest economies has shaken global financial markets and threatened to bring U.S.-China trade to a standstill. Gene Soroka, Executive director of the Port of Los Angeles warned last Thursday within 2 weeks, arrivals to the port will drop by 35% as essentially all shipments out of China for major retailers and manufacturers has ceased. Soroka added that cargo from Southeast Asia is also much softer than normal with tariffs now in place. Um, After Trump announced expansive tariffs in early April, ocean container bookings from China to the United States dropped 60% and stayed there. With orders down, ocean carriers have reduced their capacity by canceling 25% of their sailings. Um, so yeah. Malcolm asks, what is it going to do to the climate? Shipping fuel sulfur? It's bad or it's good and it's bad. Deline says it's the same tactic they use to get the public to run for the shelves when a hurricane is coming. And if you believe that COVID was contrived, then they did that then too, right? Got everybody all in a panic. I mean, yeah, I agree, Deline, to some extent. I'm trying not to give in to like paranoid thinking around this. Um, I'll probably stock up on a few things that I don't, in just in case that I really don't want to be out of, like coffee or peanut butter, basic items, rice and beans, maybe, water, possibly. But as I said, before, I've said many times, just do what you feel is necessary to be prepared for something. It's probably a good idea to be prepared for something, but maybe don't go crazy. Right. Yeah, I mean, it could all just be market manipulation. All of this is market manipulation. That's why, you know, I don't know, you got to zoom out and take a macro look. Malcolm says it's bad. Sulfur is reducing global warming from 3.5 C down to 1.5 C. It's reducing global warming. Oh, right. I got you. Okay. The sulfur that's in the air. I mean, we'll see. We'll see how that, right? If we're going to be able to quantify, you know, by the end of the year, they're gonna tell you, or we're gonna know how much the temperature has gone up globally due to the reduced sulfur from the trade wars. Um, all right. Israel just now bombed or drone bombed a Freedom Flotilla vessel that was bringing supplies and aid to Gaza. This is what nice people do. Good, caring people. The Maltese government announced that the Freedom Flotilla vessel and its crew were rescued in the early morning hours after being targeted by Israeli drones in international waters. Around 12:30 Malta time, the Freedom Flotilla vessel was attacked by an Israeli drone strike, with two drones targeting the front of the ship, causing a fire and breach in its hull. The Freedom Flotilla Coalition, which campaigns to end Israel's blockade on Gaza, reported that the ship was carrying 30 international human rights activists and humanitarian aid. Sorry. It's hard to tell what that is. It's just fire coming out of the ship, front of the ship. Yep. Smoke and damage and such. I think I have another post on this. Hold on, I gotta stop this. Hold on. Okay. Uh, these are people calling out, giving everybody the shout out for help for this vessel. Okay. Um, the problem is they did this over international waters, and you know, pretty far away from Gaza and Israel. Yeah, technically piracy, right? And people are saying this sets a precedent, but I mean, it's a precedent that's already been set. Oh, okay. Is anybody else having problems hearing the video or hearing me? Anybody? Anybody else? I'm hearing Schulte saying can't hear it. Um, yeah, but we know that Israel targets people all over the planet. Oh, okay. Sorry if you couldn't hear the clip. I apologize. Maybe have to re-engage. All right, moving on. I'm gonna kind of wrap this up soon. Seven C's talking about um, brain computer interfaces, which are coming. He's just uh, pushing a post from Neuralink. We've received breakthrough device designation from the FDA to help restore communication for individuals with severe speech impairment. Those includes This includes those affected by ALS, stroke, spinal cord injury, cerebral palsy, multiple sclerosis, and other neurological conditions. If you or someone you love has lost the ability to speak, you can sign up to our patient registry today and help shape the future of communication. Right, they are selling this as life-saving or life-enhancing technology. Uh, do you want to go back and hear that clip? or no? Um, this is well, he's saying BCIs will be posited as life-changing and akin to miracles. Much like Alex Jones says in this discussion with Elon, this is the marketing that will be used to push it to the masses. Push it to the masses. Um, the FDA has a program called Breakthrough Devices that is helping to fund and expedite this technology. There are numerous companies getting backing from this, including Elon Musk's Neuralink, Peter Thiel's BlackRock Neurotech, Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos' joint venture Synchron, Onward, and many, many others. But you know, the brain computer interface is not going to stay with the disabled, or it's not going to stay as some kind of miracle. What the heck? Oh, I gotta stop sharing this. No, stop sharing this. There we go. I think this is an issue. Okay, sorry. Going back to sharing this. Hold on one second. Cannot dismiss that this is happening right now. This is from a few months ago. The market termed brain computer interface, or BCIs, is expected to reach $6.2 billion or more by 2030. And, to go a little more into the conspiracy realm, there's a lot of evidence that they're already using computer to brain interface, as in what you're doing right now with your phone and your computer or your social media. What they can do with Wi-Fi, what they can do with cell signals, what they can do. Uh, there are several ways that they can manipulate um, what you think and maybe how you feel. Uh, so yeah, I saw another interesting video a couple weeks ago about somebody saying they don't really need to put something in your head. They already are doing it right now, um, and have the capabilities of maybe not total control, but very effective suggestions. And you're probably, a lot of people are reacting to things that they don't really, you know understand they're reacting to, right? Like if they have the ability to hear what you're saying and then show you an ad based on, and I've actually experienced not saying something, thinking about something, and having something come up. you know I've had that happen a couple of times. I'm not, you know um not trying to, just make some stuff up to sound weird. Or maybe it was just a coincidence. I'd be willing to chalk it up to coincidence, but uh, like I said, it's happened a couple of times, and it makes me go, "Hmm, if they have the ability to, hear what you're saying and then show you things, or whatever, interact with you based on the things that you're saying and possibly thinking already, they don't need a chip, they don't need a plug, they don't need a jack in your at the base of your spine." Malcolm says, probably quite easy to emulate ADHD by simply overloading our circuits with frequencies. Yeah, and I absolutely feel um, like ADHD'd out a lot these days. A lot of it has to do with the internet. So, what I've been trying to do is not spend my time or not spend too much time, scrolling and trolling the internet, um, or taking in too much information. Like, I shut it down and try to pay attention to other things. Yeah, predictive programming, sure. Well, and that's what I'm saying. The power of suggestion is very powerful. Hence the name. Jimmy Dore pointing out the absolutely abysmal state of infrastructure in the U.S. and our inability to actually spend, now put forth money for public goods. I'm not saying that we don't do any of it, but we're just falling way behind. And we're certainly, because of our inability or reluctance or refusal to put, you know, funds forward for agencies and or programs that would be a public benefit, um, because those things are constantly under attack as wasteful or um, communist or whatever it is people say about it. Um, because there all those things are facing such a headwind. We're able to do less and less, kind of like um, infrastructure upgrades and or speaking from from a holistic standpoint as far as the planet Earth, um, eh, could be the answer for that. But as far as like what a benefit it might be to people to be able to like have more public transport instead of forcing people to rely on cars or high speed rail, um, as opposed to forcing people to get on airplanes. Those things could be. I'm not saying those are a fix for the climate problem. I'm just saying they could be way less damaging. Anyways, Highway 1 in Big Sur has been closed for 838 days. In that time, China has built 3,500 miles of high speed rail, and California hasn't been able to fix a quarter mile of highway. Seems like they should be able to do that, right? But it could be the state of it could also be attributed to the state of this hillside that's right next to the ocean. There are a lot of coastal areas that are rapidly eroding. There are a lot of coastal areas, definitely in California, that are rapidly falling into the ocean. So, um, I don't know how you fix that. So I'll give the state of California maybe not a pass, but a degree of understanding that maybe this isn't a road that you are going to fix for very long. I don't know. And I'm not mad at the road not being fixed, honestly, because if it's fixed, then there's a bunch of cars driving up and down this, and there's a bunch of people all up and down this ecosystem. So maybe let the animals take over for a little while. But from a getting her done infrastructure standpoint, I guess it's not very good. I know some people might be aghast and amazed by my standpoint on this, but I'm just looking at it from a different angle. And that's okay. That's healthy, right? Okay, I got to wrap it up. The Prime Minister of Italy, Giorgia Meloni, explained how modern day colonialism, which is mainly perpetuated by France, is being carried out in Africa. This is very interesting. We're going to watch this. And I'm going to just say, while you're watching this, equate it with our colonialism in South America, and in Africa and all over the planet, right? We do the same thing that France does. What France does in Africa is deplorable, but what we do to South America it's pretty much the same thing.
The solution is not to take Africans and move them to Europe. The solution is to free Africa from certain European.
So, case in point, because, we talk about the immigration problem here, or it's couched as a problem. But where is everybody coming from? South American countries, Central American countries, Mexico, etc. And a lot of people would blame all of that immigration on not necessarily just a search for a better life, but an escape from situations that have deteriorated, right? So kind of the same, right? There's a lot of refugees from Africa, from horrible situations, horrible conditions, to come to Europe to try to, be in a better situation, which, on a lot of levels makes a lot of sense. But if the people were left to work things out on their own, to do the best for themselves and their people, maybe they wouldn't have the need to emigrate. Oh, the Dutch have been very bad. That's right. So Schulte, ding, ding, ding. England, Spain, the Dutch, France. Anyway, let's watch this.
Who exploited and allow these people to live off what they have. This is called the CFA franc, a colonial currency that France prints for 14 African nations, and by virtue of which it exploits the resources of this nation. This is a child working in a gold mine in Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso is one of the poorest nations in the world. For Burkina Faso, which has gold, France prints colonial currency. In return, it demands that 50% of everything Burkina Faso exports ends up in the coffers of the French treasury. The gold that this child crawls into a tunnel to extract mostly ends up in the coffers of the French state. So the solution is not to take Africans and move them to Europe. The solution is to free Africa from certain Europeans who exploit it and allow these people to live off what they have.
No lies detected. I think that's a great point she's making. Think what you want about her, and maybe consider the hypocrisy. I don't know that Italy has done widespread colonialism. I'm sure they have. You don't really, not to the extent that maybe they're in there. They're in the mix. You just don't hear about it as much as maybe, other countries. But they're in there. So, I do take a certain level of hypocrisy into account on this one. And again, there's a controlled revelation of the method thing going on right now. So you're going to see a lot of truth telling by governments and government agencies and, whistleblowers and insiders that are now outsiders, right? There's going to be a lot of that going on. But is it going to stop the pain? Is it going to stop the resource extraction? Is it going to stop the exploitation? Probably not. It's just a cover for more exploitation, mostly. All right, guys. That is it for me. I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks for hanging out. I know it was a weird time. Oh, I don't think I've seen that one. Maybe I'll check that one out. A Dry White Season? All right. I'll check that one out. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thanks for joining in and tuning in and all that kind of good stuff. I do appreciate you. But I am going to see you on Monday at the regular time of 12 p.m. Pacific. Sorry for the change of time today and the change of venues. Yeah, definitely, Gregory. That's true. But we'll be back on the regular time on Monday. Appreciate you all. Enjoy your weekend. I don't know if I have anybody to thank. If you want to support the show, you know how to do it. There's lots of ways to support the show. You know the deal. Yeah, I don't think there's anybody right off the bat to thank, but I do appreciate y'all. Okay. Until next time. Peace.